Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Shields from Next to Media. We're here in Cannes as part of my deep dive into YouTube, sponsored by ViewPlanner. I'm here with John Terrana of Vaynermedia. Hey, John, or JT. How you doing? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
So I want to talk to you about, you were talking a lot about YouTube and their ascendancy in CTV. I want to get your take, because you come at this, I think, from a maybe social centric point of view, although you're of course looking at all media. How does that change your look in terms of, are they part of your TV advertiser diet, and that's how you look at YouTube? They're in so many aspects of this business. Does it change the way you view them, or is it really client by client, campaign by campaign?
Yeah, it's so Vayner, where we are a social first shop. We talk a lot about social media at the center of a lot of campaigns. I think when we think about YouTube, it's a little bit of like concentric circles, right? So you have one circle that is YouTube TV, and then YouTube proper app on your TV device, right? So that is kind of one part of the circle. The other part is YouTube Shorts, which I think you can probably have a really good debate of: is YouTube Shorts social video, or is it not video?
They even talk about people watching it on TV, which is kind of weird to me. But
right? So I think the overlap between those two circles is fascinating to us, right? Because if you think about them, you can buy them in different ways. It's actually quite complex how to buy them, but sort of the middle of those two overlapping circles is really interesting audience data, a ton of attention, a chance to do amazing stuff with creative. And I think that the challenge that a lot of folks have is oftentimes TV and YouTube Shorts are funded from different buckets of money.
Right.
YouTube is very fragmented. So how do you sort of bring everything together in what could be a really powerful part of any plan?
A lot of questions come up from what you just said there. But are you starting to see a dividing line? You know, when you're trying to reach young people or people below a certain age, they are seemingly less TV centric, more phone centric, or more social video centric. But I don't know if that's a hard and fast rule. How do you kind of bifurcate the strategies there and think about, or does that not really affect the way you're planning?
Yeah, I think for us, at least, everything starts with cohorts or the audience, right? So if you and I are going to go and set up a campaign against Gen Z or younger folks, whatever their interest might be, we're going to lean into TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Facebook and Instagram Reels, and that's going to be predominant format, right? So if you think about where Shorts is going, it's very much so the format of the moment, right?
And sorry to interrupt you, but do you think there's debate about whether that is the same kind of quality attention as like TV? I don't know if kids can think about that at all or care about that.
I think, when we think about quality content or premium content, and, you look at a platform like YouTube, they've done all sorts of things with trying to peel off the 1% of channels, trying to peel off premium content, select inventory. I just don't think real life people think about things as, oh my God, is this content premium or not? Right. So
I'm really enjoying myself now.
Exactly. Yeah. So like video is video. So if you're talking to a 18-year-old, I don't think any of them are thinking like, oh my God, this Shorts content, or oh my God, this TikTok isn't premium enough for me.
Right.
So the video itself, the attention of the video itself, the format it's delivered in is what matters, at least to us.
Yeah.
And that's just the framework that we think through.
All right. If you notice, there's been creators have been popping up at Cannes for a while, and they're really present this year. You can really see it. You can really notice it. It's hard to generalize about that, but so many of the big creators, particularly on YouTube, they have consistent audiences and predictable schedules, almost like television. Yet, I feel like the best campaigns are often like, you partner with them and let them create something special. I guess I'm asking, do you look at them almost like as another way of hitting big audiences like TV, or is it all about having to have these deep partnerships?
Yeah, for us, authenticity is number one. It's kind of the first and foremost filter, I think. I think when you get into like big scaled creators, you can certainly look at them as their own media company. And in some cases,
can be just a place to put pre-rolls, and that's it.
Of course. In some cases, they're their own product companies now, because they're all launching products, like Mr. Beast is doing. But for us, a really good influencer or creator partnership should go probably deeper than just a pre-roll or a mid-roll.
You're not taking advantage of the power.
Of course. I mean, it's really, really easy to tell when a creator is really behind the product and loves it and is an actual user versus just doing the ad for the sake of doing an ad, right? So there's a lot of bad creator executions out there. So really being selective with who you work with is just so key.
How do you, it seems like an impossible challenge. You know, you've got the Mr. Beast of the world. Everyone knows them at this point. If you're in the industry, I would assume you do. But there's so many big names beneath them that are big audiences. But sorting through that world seems almost impossible. Like, how do you stay on top of that?
Yeah, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's the part that at least big brands really sort of struggle with, right? I think big brands will ask the YouTubes of the world a lot, being like, who should I work with? Or, hey, can you help me curate inventory that I could buy in a more biddable or direct IO capacity?
These are a lot of times 40-year-old executives who don't live this way.
Of course,
life, right? Like,
you know, the real way to do it is, I say the way we ideate through is the lens of what we call platforms and culture. And you have to be really, really leaned into what's happening on platforms, what's happening in culture, how your business relates to those two frameworks, and then put in some deep work of what are the potentially 50, 100, 500 creators you want to work with and go deep with, right? So the mid and the micro levels of creator, there's so much value there. I mean, you will get so much more
value. The depth is really strong.
It's super strong. And here's the thing. In my opinion, if you were to make up a number, $3 to $5 million ad budget, right? Can you go and give that to a major influencer? Of course, that will save you a lot of time.
Yeah.
Can you go and give that to 1,000 creators that really care?
And it's really at that level where you could dig that deep.
That level. You could dig, I mean, there's tools to kind of curate that, but I would bet on the 1,000 mid and micro over one big almost every single time. Because within the 1,000, you're going to find 10 to 20 that become really
and the audience connection is that strong and
of course, Right. So it's a little bit of like, how do you get people on the come up? You know, like how do you get folks that are not at the level of scale and forming that partnership now?
Yeah. You thought 100 channels in cable was complicated. This is hard. You mentioned the complexity of YouTube, but something we hear a lot is that because there's a lot of ways in, which is, you know, between programmatic and influencers and different intermediaries. That seems like a good thing, but what could be better? What's hard about that right now?
Yeah, it's so it's context. You know, I've been buying ads on social for a long time now. You know, it's like 2011, 2012, early Facebook days. So I've seen a lot of sort of, you know, social buying UIs come up. The UI of buying YouTube Shorts or YouTube itself is fine. It's just the way the inventory is sort of bifurcated, and the way audience data flows between the different types of inventory. It's almost not stitched together as seamlessly as it can be yet, right? So I do foresee a day where YouTube is saying, okay, you know, Mike or JT, or folks here's a group of folks that look like us. How can we actually start to do interesting things between TV, YouTube proper Shorts, and kind of stitch that audience data across all the platforms, pipe in Google search data? You can do that on some level. It takes deep expertise and work to do that.
Right.
And a lot of brands are still in like direct IO life with Google and YouTube.
Yeah,
right?
They've got these big holding company plans or whatever.
Or a lot of brands are in, you know what, I got a 15, I got a 30. Let me put that on YouTube. To do what we're describing of how do I stitch together all inventory sources against multiple audiences. I'm talking about dozens of audience with specific interests. That just takes a level
that is hard to plug into your traditional video investment way of operating.
Well, that's the part about the funding sources of budgets, right? So if you're someone who oversees a large linear budget, you're not thinking about, how do I chop up that linear budget into 20, 30, 40 audiences across the YouTube ecosystem?
How do I compare those numbers and the data you get back? That is tough.
Exactly. So it's a lot of times about organizational alignment, just as much as it is about like expertise and media buying creative.
Last thing where it can, you know, I have to ask the question of like, you know, what are you excited about? What do you see here? I mean, AI is a big topic. There's real and there's not real stuff going on. What are you kind of hearing here, or you're excited about for the rest of the year?
Yeah, it's I'm actually surprised. I've heard it in so many different places, but AI generated influencers and creators.
That is so strange to me, but it's real.
Yeah, it's very, very real. And I probably incoming would have guessed it was, you know, 2, 3, 5 years away from being real.
Yeah.
But the amount of influencers that I've spoken to that are like, I'm actually concerned about a brand's ability to go in and say, hey,
I don't need you anymore. Like
exactly, like or own the influencer, own the creator, right? Be able to go into tech and say, I want a person in their mid 40s who is fashionable, who looks like who has 2 kids, and generate a somewhat seemingly realistic human being, that then they control that IP and they control that person's digital existence. That is interesting. I think it's super early, but I've heard it at least multiple times every day. And I've heard it from influencers that are a tiny bit concerned about it. And then you think about the brand side of that. I'm a brand, and all of a sudden I control the influencer themselves.
Right.
I can make them into whatever I want to make them. That becomes a crazy, interesting space. And I think probably 2-3 years from now, we're going to start seeing some real stuff there.
So we're worried about the robots killing us, and the brands are basically helping along. That's
Yeah,
trouble.
I think as a media person, everyone's worried about AI putting media practitionership out of business.
Right.
That will happen, and it'll get easier. But I also think there's a huge creator and influencer side of it that's kind of wild to think through.
That is wild. JD, awesome conversation. Thanks for being here.
I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.